I'm painting a palette knife artwork today in watercolour. So I've got a 17 centimetre A3 Arches smooth paper. I've cut the strip off the bottom and I'll use that for another artwork at another time. So this is masked down with high stick 821 tape. The reason I use that is for its sticking capabilities, and also I have a tab here that when I actually take off my masking fluid it'll come straight off right round. I won't be scratching at it trying to get the tape off. So the colours that I'll be using today will be Payne's Grey AS, has to be AS. Other brands in Payne's Grey don't paint the same. Indethrin Blue, Winsor & Newton, Cobalt Blue, Winsor & Newton, Rose Madder, Winsor & Newton, and Raw Sienna, Winsor & Newton. So that'll be the colour palette that I'll be using today. And to start with, I'm going to be doing the sky, and then that will be dried, and then I will do the foreground and using a palette knife. So that's the palette knife I'll be using. A metal one works far better than the plastic type. They can be used but not as successfully as a metal one on smooth paper. I'll be using a Skoda 12 brush, a synthetic brush, and a synthetic inch square brush. Also, I'll be using a very fine liner for any work that I need to do with anything to finish off the artwork. I can't tell you what the artwork is exactly going to be because it happens on the paper. So that's interesting. It interests me that it's not just contrived. It doesn't need a drawing. It's something that you can sit down and do. It is a percentage artwork that some turn out fantastic, some not so good. So it's just up to the individuals as to what they end up with. Okay, so I need some ultramarine, cobalt blue, and rose madder. That'll be the sky colour. I won't put too much water in it to start with because the more water I've got, the more granulating cobalt blue will be. So I'll just make it so that it will be wet enough to go on the paper without grabbing, because it can grab. On smooth paper, generally if I was doing other work on smooth paper, I'd wet the paper first, but I'm not going to with this. I'm just going to come in with the colour and then the rose madder. The rose madder is here, and that will give me a pink for the skyline, like a late afternoon skyline. And so that'll go down behind the artwork when it's painted. Not too much pink, it can be too bright. So they'll be the colours that I'll be using. So I'll start off with the square shader. It's an Art Basic brush, and load the brush with the blue and start to paint the sky. Okay, I'll slow up actually because I noticed it looks very, very fast on the camera. So just drag that across, come down. If you come down while it's wet, you'll get a little bit of a line, but not much. And right to the edges, and just brush slowly through that. I've wet the brush and cleaned it, and come down just to soften some of that off, some of those bottom edges. That will then bring it down softly. And then into the rose madder that can come into that, because that will make purple and come down along the skyline. So I'm planning for the artwork to start around about the top third, and so that will just brush into the blue. So as long as you're using a square shader and have it damp, you have a fair bit of control on your paint. If I crisscross across that line disappears. I've got a little bit of a cloud effect going on there. You don't have to have clouds. It's up to you what you end up with. You could have it just straight blue, but it's slightly blue at the top. It's causing a little bit of a cauliflower there, and smooth paper cauliflower is far less than medium or rough. So I can just get that line back by just softening through there. Don't brush too long because otherwise the paper gets that grainy look that cobalt blue can have. Now that's dried, so I'll dry that with a hairdryer. I haven't entirely dried it because if any of the landscape comes in and actually goes up into there, it won't be very harmful anyway. It'll just add to it. So I'm going to use the Escoda from here on, and I'm going to dry up those colours that I had because I don't want those as wet, but I still need some of them there so that I can use them later. Or I can add darker blue to the other ones. So I've just sort of wiped a part of the palette and left it wet in the corners so I could still pick up that colour if I needed to. I've got a clean palette here so that when I pick up other colours like raw sienna, I've got raw sienna here. If I pick that up by itself and wanted to add rose madder to it after I wash my brush, that will make an orange. And then Payne's Grey in that will make a brown. Just a little touch of Payne's Grey, a bit more of a touch, will make a greeny brown. Can get darker, but it makes a browner tone, more so than just your raw sienna. So that gives you a chance to change some of your colours up so that you're not getting just the same colours. So the more you mix your palette, the more complex your artwork will become. If you only use clean colours all the time, you get a very ordinary artwork. You don't get the complexity of the colours that mixing your colours together will give you. Okay, so let's get started with the raw sienna. So I've got raw sienna on the brush, and I'll put it down on the palette and mix it on the brush and some water. So that'll come in through there. I'll get some of the blues. The blues can make green, but that's all right, I don't care. I've now got cobalt blue. I'll just start to get some cobalt in through there, a little bit of cobalt. That'll come up to that. It can go green, I don't care what it does. A little bit more of your raw sienna. I'll make it into the browny sort of colour. Then I'll go to the larger brush to come down a bit further. Can have some light in through there as well. I'm going back for the cobalt up the top here, a little bit of cobalt. Bit more water, don't want it too strong, and I'll join it in with the raw sienna. So I'll get a little bit stronger raw sienna and bring that in, and that can come into that, can go into that, come up into that, and just disappear into there. So look at the shapes that you're actually forming with your paint as you go as well. So I'm going to now go back over to here and just touch that and get that to match up. Now I'll start to get into other colours in through there. I'll have some more raw sienna. Some of the darker colour now, just in through there. Just bring that in, just makes a light sort of a grey colour. So sometimes less is best in these. Just going to bring some in here with this. Leave a gap in through there. This will come down as a large section, so I'll get a little bit more paint in that. Rose madder, and the grey greys it down into a brown. So if I want that to come down through here, I'll actually go behind it to form what I want to in there. That actually made this into a hill coming back down through there. I'll come back with the blues, put some blue in with this, and the Payne's Grey. That makes it more complex and makes it into just a grey. That'll just go in through there, join up with the other colours. Can do its own thing. Coming down the bottom, it then will go into the other colours. Bring this colour back in, the warmer colour, down closer. So that'll be rose madder and a little bit of Payne's Grey. And I need the raw sienna in it. to stop it being into a pinky sort of colour. It's now a pinker brown sort of colour that can come in through there, down through this hill. Leave the front of the hill light. It's got a bit of blue through there. Leave that light. I can always come darker in behind it, which is Payne's Grey and the colours. Come back in over that and get that back in. That formed a line through there. I'm going to get that line out. That hill can come back this way and just add water to it. Okay, so now it's got some colours coming in through. Could have a little bit of raw sienna further down here. It's got raw sienna there. Probably needs some raw sienna through here just to balance that out. Okay, don't want it over that. I'll take it back. I'll take it back down through there. So I'll take it back out of here. I wanted that to come right the way down. Okay, so now that's to a stage where it can have the palette knife put through it. Could have a bit of blue at the top there. So you don't know exactly what's here, and so now I can work with the palette knife. One thing I did know was that I wanted that to come down through there. That can come back through there. I don't want the double line, so to get rid of the double line, I'll take it out and do it into something else. So now it's another line of coming down through there. So if I wanted to put trees or anything in here, I could. I don't particularly want the double line there. So what I'll do is come back with some water and some paint and paint a little bit into that. I'll make it a little bit pink, a little bit of all the colours, and I'll just wet behind it. Just wet behind it there. Take that out. And just get something on there that can just run through there, just to have something on the landscape that you don't really know what it is. You need to get over the other side and get something happening here. This is a little bit strong, but it's probably dry. So that's dried. So I'll just add some water to it. Just add some water, that'll lift it and make it move. Actually, I'm going to turn the heater off. It's drying all on its own. That can come down into here. Now where it left this lump of paint through there, it's got a little bit of paint there. I'll just pick up the Payne's Grey and just put something in there, just so it can run around in that paint. So that'll let it do something. It may even run across there, which would be good. I don't know whether you can see that. It's running down the page. Okay, I'll put it back down. Okay, so that can be something that I can take with me, take that line with me. So it's brought something in through there. Got a little bit of a line across there. I'm not that unhappy with that. Probably the blue could come into there a little bit better. Now that changed that by what I just did, but you've either got it there or you've changed it. It doesn't matter anyway. It'll happen all on its own. Yellow and blue makes green, so now I'm going for a little bit of the cobalt blue in that to make a bit of a green, because I've got this shape here. It'd be a shame not to use that shape. And that shape's in the actual paint that's there. And so if it decides to go up to the top of that with a bit of water, it'll go up to the shape that was already made there. So that can come along. But the less you paint, probably the more you're going to have to enjoy, because it is something that just happens, and you can then look at it and say, yeah, I don't want to do too much more to it, or yes, I can change that. I've tilted it now to make this run the other way. Or I can add some more water to it and leave these lovely soft colours there. It's doing its own thing now, which is good. I just want to get a little bit of paint out of that area there. May come back. All right, so there's not that much going on. If we had anything else, we've got a point here to look at. We've got a point there. We don't have much here to make you look at it. So I'm just going to put something in there, either the green or the Payne's grey. Oh, it went brown. So raw sienna and cobalt blue. I'll make it green. I'll make it a greener colour. Just let it come through there. Leading into that, you don't know what it is. Could be anything. Later on, I'll get some colour coming back in through here. And so it just makes you have to look at it. You don't know what you're sort of seeing, but your eye keeps moving around to look and see what you've got. I do notice a couple of specks across the page that will need to come off. So I'll just see if I can get those off. Otherwise it'll be in the sky forever. Just touch them a little bit. Just touch. Don't play too long, or we have a hole in the sky. Okay, so now I've got like a hill coming down through. I've got other things going on, and I don't think I'll do a great deal more to it. This could actually lead out. It could, because it's coming down at such a great fast rate, it could actually go back this way. If I damp that and bring it back to it, that could be interesting as well. Just going to put a bit of Payne's grey in these ones. That'll come back and join into that. You'll get little trees, you get bigger trees if you actually stop that line along the edge. That'll go up to the top of that. And so now it's got a group of trees in there, and I'll take out the back edge. Just take that edge, that'll be the shading under those trees. That one's a very interesting tree. And basically that will be the point that you want to view this. Lovely colours coming in through here. The pretty colours are coming in through there. And with the darks that I put on, sometimes I'll do a lead in to make it more interesting in this area of the Payne's grey. This is going to actually stop there because the paint only went there, so I'm just going to round it out. That'll just round out the top. All right, the lead in will be Payne's grey. Could put some of the other colours in it so it's not as severe. And that will come in and lead into probably here. I love that line there. So that'll come in here and just do a line across there. And so what I'll do is wet the top of this, just the top there, just so it softens off and doesn't leave that harsh line as harsh as that. And that'll just come up into the water and can do its own thing up into the water. If I do that and soften it, that'll just lead it up there. All right, so it's got a point of interest. It's got a lot of other things going on. This is doing its own thing. It could have that stop there a little bit. These, not sure about those. I've just got the rigger. I'm just going to put some branches under. If you can get that to happen, it's excellent that you can get them to come down onto a surface. So because there's nothing underneath these trees, I'm just going to actually add something to them along that line. Just a couple of bits and pieces, not much. If you do too much, then you spoil it, and then I'll come across here with the grey and just take that off. So it's the look of the trees are there, but they're not quite there. Okay, so that'll be the finish of that artwork. I'll dry it, and then I'll remove the tape to show you what it looks like without. Just going to remove the tape. So the tape will just come off around. Won't be pulling at it. Have it over the edge of a board or something like that. And there you have it. That's the watercolour palette knife landscape. Thank you.